Hi, my name is Rinda Hall, and I'm with Family Tree Counseling Associates. Recently, I was scrolling through Facebook and came across a group called Recovering from a Relationship with a Narcissist. There's a lot of great support that goes on within this group, from people that have been no contact for several months, even years, to people that have been no contact for a day, and even people that can't go no contact because of other circumstances. And they gain and receive support from the members in this group. But one of the things that I really like is that they have this blog, and it's called Soulmates in Hell. And what a great title. There's a lot of great information in this blog. And one of the things that I came across was the ugly truths about a narcissist. And it's funny how a narcissist thinks and they see themselves as a person that is kind, loving, and caring, and isn't all about themselves. And when we begin to detach and become unenmeshed, we begin to see these ugly truths about them. And so I'm going to read through these and share from my own relationship with a narcissist, and because most of these really related. So the first one is turns every conversation to themselves. And you know yourself, being involved with a narcissist, that every conversation is about them. You could be talking about the weather, and it turns to them saying, hey, it affects me. The second one expects you to meet his or her needs, but not vice versa. And so, like in my relationship, I was expected to make sure that all his needs were met. And I was supposed to know what he was feeling at any given moment. But yet, when I needed something, I was always told that, I needed to wait, or I could do it myself, or things of that nature. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Is oblivious to the impact of his negative comments on you. Now, me, having grown up with a narcissist parent, had already a low self-esteem. And so when my ex would comment on my body type, my appearance, it hit right to my core. Because I was already self-conscious about the way that I looked because of circumstances that had happened in my childhood. And so those comments, and it didn't even faze him that it had an impact. 4, constantly criticizes or berates you and knows what is best for you and tells you what you should or should not feel. I remember being told, you shouldn't feel that way, I don't know how many times. I would have a feeling about something in general, and he was like, you don't have a reason to feel that way. You should be mad, or you should be glad, or whatever it is that he needed me to feel to make him feel okay. The next one is focuses on blaming you or others instead of taking responsibility for their own behavior. Now this one, I did this because of you, or I did this because of whatever, fill in the blank. And I'm sure that many of you out there have dealt with a narcissist know that they don't take responsibility because they can't handle it. 6, expects you to anticipate their every need. This was a classic because I was supposed to know, like I said before, at any given moment, what he wanted, what he expected. If he needed his laundry done, if he needed clothes taken to the cleaners, whatever it was, I was already expected to know and supposed to be a mind reader. Is highly absorbed in their own hobbies, interests, to the point of ignoring you and your children. I am so familiar with this one because he would get on the computer and we would have plans to go do something and time to leave, and he was like, well, I'll be done in a minute, and we never ended up going. Just recently, when we were trying to work our relationship out, he had come to visit, and we had plans to go to a movie, and he was on the computer chatting with another woman, so I found out later that we missed the movie. And so he was so absorbed in that just time got away. I came to remind him, and he was oblivious to it. constantly seeks to be the center of attention. When in a group, my ex would play ringtones on his phone to make a lot of noise, to become the center of attention, because they thrive on that. That's what he loved to do, that in a group. That's what he did. He wanted to be the center of attention. Inappropriately teases and ignores the hurt that he causes. My daughter had a cleft on her chin, and one of his favorite things to do was to call her butt chin. And he didn't even realize how bad that hurt her. She would cry and say, "Dad, stop calling me that." And he didn't care. He just teased her about it constantly. With his own daughter, he would call her fatty, and she wore a size 2. But that made her self-conscious, and it was totally oblivious to it. Refuses to acknowledge their own mistakes, and they can't handle criticism, and they use anger to shut it down. Now, he never really acknowledged any mistakes until towards the end. And then it was only in a way to try to win me back and get me to stay in the relationship. But I know that many of you out there are familiar with this, because they get mad and get angry and start yelling and screaming and cussing, and then it shuts you down, and you just apologize for making them feel bad. And because I know that's what I did. Has an attitude of anything you can do, I can do better. Something simple as playing Farmville in my relationship was a challenge. I used to play just for a mindless little game, and I did it for fun. I liked watching the chickens dance, and that's what I did to relax. And he made it a competition, saying that my farm's bigger than yours and I'm doing better than you. And that's just a thing that a narcissist does, is anything you can do, I can do better. Engages in one-upmanship to seem important. And one of the things that I noticed after I disengaged from him was that he would do this quite a bit. Somebody would do something, or the kids or I would do something, and he had to go and do it even better, to show us that what we did wasn't even good enough. Acts in a seductive or flirtatious manner, and pours on the charm when in public. This was classic. He would sit there and in public would be like the most attentive person to me. Everybody loved him. Everybody thought he was a nice guy. And really in private, I was devalued. I was criticized. But outside, everybody thought he was a fantastic guy, for the most part. Expects to be admired. May use false modesty to fish for compliments. Now, he did like to be admired. He liked his ego stroked. And he would fish for compliments. Something as simple as cutting the grass. He would sit there and say, "Doesn't the grass look good? I did a good job, didn't I?" And things of that nature. Thinks he has to have the latest or the biggest and the best. Every time a new phone came out, he went and got one, because he had to have the latest and greatest. He had to have the best of everything. New things come out, new toys, new gadgets. That was his thing. He enjoyed it, and he had to have the best. When he came to visit me, he didn't like the fact that I just had basic cable. And so he pretty much, he did manipulate me into saying, "Hey, you need to go and upgrade because what you have is crap." And, so I did. I did, because I thought we were working it out. And now it's I don't even use it. I don't watch TV, but I have it because I gave in rather than argue. So it was like he has to have the biggest and the best, even when he was at my house visiting. Is very status oriented. This is very true. Status is everything. One of the things that I would hear from him is talking about his brother, telling me that, his brother basically was not a great person, that he was lazy and didn't work for anything, and look at everything that we've accomplished, look at everything that he's got and he's done, and things of that nature. And it was a very status, because he thought that, he would be loved more by his parents the more things that he had, the more things that he gathered. And it was, what he didn't realize is that it was all materialistic, and it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't tell you what kind of a person that you are. No sense of gratitude, but rather thinks that you owe them. So you do something nice, you don't get thanked. That's expected of you, one of the things that once I began to gather my senses and start to detach from him was that I quit doing his laundry. Because it was all taken for granted. First I would do the laundry, but I wouldn't put it away for him like I used to. And he got mad at me. He would get mad at me because I didn't put his laundry away, because I owed it to him, because he worked hard all day, every day. And, coming out of that, I realized that I was nothing more than his servant. A fake persona acts like the perfect person, husband, father, to gain attention. And again, I touched on this a little bit earlier. In public, he was very attentive. He was very kind. He was very nice. He would walk holding my hand. And to the outside world, and to even members of our family, he was the perfect guy. He was the perfect gentleman. He would open doors, and he was super nice. If only I lived my life in public, it would have been great. Threatens to abandon you if you don't go along with what they want. Let you know you'd better cater to sexual fantasies, or they'll find somebody who will. Now, the second part of that, he never threatened, but he did threaten to abandon me if I didn't go along with him. At one point in 2004, I had left the relationship, and he threatened me that he was going to have my daughter taken away from me if I didn't come back to the relationship. And so I did. I catered to him, and I went back. If only I knew then what I know now. I wouldn't probably be in so much pain coming out of this relationship, and just now realizing what the hell I just went through. Sees himself above the rules and doesn't expect to be penalized for not following them. This was a big one. Going through our divorce, there were some circumstances, and he had to move out of the house, had to get a court order, had him moved out of the house. The court order came through, and he said, well, I didn't get it, so I don't have to leave. So, and then he moved 4 houses down from me, and he would constantly show up at my house, even though that there was an order saying that he couldn't stop by my house. He would stop by my house and leave things on my doorstep, leave things on the back door, so he would have been in the yard, on the side of the house, and just to let me know that he was there. And, the rules didn't apply. That the rules weren't supposed to be applicable to him. And this is typical with a narcissist, is that they get away with things constantly over and over and over again. And so therefore the rules don't apply. So they think. Because later on I ended up having to get a restraining order. And the rules then didn't apply. Because he fought that restraining order and thought that he could still contact me through other people. But the restraining order is upheld, and now I have luckily been no contact for 5 months. Shames your feelings, and calls you overly sensitive or touchy if you express your feelings. And this is also very, very typical. For me in my situation, I would say that I didn't particularly care for something, and he would just say, you're just being reactive, or you're being touchy, or you're just overly sensitive. And I heard those words over and over and over and over again. And I mean, it's just like they don't understand, and they don't get it. Is unable to see things from any point of view but their own. Again, I've touched on this before. Anything you can do, I can do better. And they don't see anything. They don't take into consideration other people's needs and feelings when doing something, because it's only what they want. And it's always been a one-sided relationship with a narcissist. Wants to control what you do and say. Tries to micromanage you. This was typical for the past 15 years of my life. I had to answer to him why I made the decisions that I made, why I did and why I said the things that I said, then would belittle me and tell me that there was no way that I could come up with that. Even at one point in time, I was dealing with one of our tenants in our rental house, and he basically, right there in front of the tenant, told me to shut up. I didn't know what I was talking about. You know, and he would say, you know, things like, you don't spend enough time with me, and you need to spend more time with me. Other things are more important. And it was in an effort to control and manipulate my time. 24, attempts to make you feel stupid, helpless, and inept when you try to do things on your own. Again, this goes back to, you know, you can't make decisions on your own. You need to check with me first. I don't know who told you to do that, but they're stupid. You need to do it my way. Has poor insight. The next one has shallow emotions and interests. And with the narcissist, their emotions are very shallow. They don't, you know, they're not this empathetic people like we are, who get sucked into these relationships from our own childhood wounds. And so we're susceptible to that. But they prey on that from us. They exploit others with lies and manipulations. So this is kind of referred to also as the whole flying monkey thing. And they're really good at this, because what happens is they get people on the outside and they tell them these stories. Like, one of the things that he would do with me was that he would tell people, you know, because of my past mental illnesses, that, you know, he stuck with me and he didn't have to, and I was so mistreating of him. When in all actuality, it was him that was very mistreating of me. Uses emotional blackmail to get what they want. Now here, one of the things that he did was, he would threaten me. He would, at one point, he said that he would take the medicine that I was taking and scatter it amongst the floor like chicken feed, and call the ambulance and told him that I'd overdosed, because it was a manipulation tactic to get me to do what he wanted me to do. And so I acquiesced, and I did it because I knew that if I didn't go along with what he wanted me to do, that he was going to follow through with what he said. The last one, engages in physical, psychological, or sexual abuse and makes you feel used. And many times in a relationship like this, it is considered sexual abuse when you don't want to do it, and they're manipulating you, like with the whole chicken feed with the pills on the floor, and you give in because you don't feel like you have anything else to give. You feel like your defenses are shattered and broken. So you give in and you go along because it's easier than fighting. So these are some of the ugly truths that I found to be really relative to my relationship with my past narc. And I hope that this has helped you to see the relationship that you're in or probably have come out of. But there is hope. There's a lot of great support out here on YouTube. There is a lot of great support out on the web. And there are therapists out there that know what narcissistic abuse is and can help you with that, me being one. And you can contact me. My information is on familytreecounseling.com under the Associates tab. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. There's going to be more information coming along from myself and another counselor on this topic of narcissistic abuse. And thanks for watching.